Welcome back to California Live Podcast. Today we are again with Ms. Heather Luzzi at the SBA office. Ms. Heather, thank you so much for your time. I know you were so busy. And thank you for hosting us again. You have a beautiful office.
Thank you.
It's a penthouse.
Thank you. I spend a lot of time here. Try to make it a little homey. So
it is very homey. Again, thank you for inviting us. I love it a lot better than the previous office, although that one's
the conference room,
is also very well set up. Before we get to all the questions that I have for you from our audience and from myself, I know that you've just finished working with Small Business Week and all the events. Could you please share with us and with our audience, what have you been dealing with? Because it was a lot.
It was a lot, definitely. So last week, National Small Business Week, and the agency, by presidential declaration back in 1963, has dedicated the first full week of May as Small Business Week. And with that, district offices around the country tend to put on different events and training, educational programs for small businesses. And then we kind of culminate the week with the celebration of our Small Business Awards. So last week was a whirlwind, and we started out with partnering with the city of Elk Grove and Sacramento Startup, or Startup SAC, and Laura Good and her team. We put on a business expo. So we had 32 resource partners for small businesses that came together at a beautiful winery in Elk Grove and just provided information for small businesses on starting and scaling and growing into new markets, exporting opportunities, information from the city and the county of Sacramento with respect to permitting and business licenses, etc. Then several other events during the week. One that comes to mind is a women's business conference that the Better Business Bureau put on. And that was a lot of fun. Different training and motivational speakers were there. We also attended and partnered with the City of Sacramento and the County of Sacramento for their BizX event, where panels of entrepreneurs talked about the struggles and challenges that they had when they first started in their ventures, and kind of tips and tricks that they learned along the way to just grow their businesses and engage with the community and get community support. We also did a procurement summit and an access to capital summit, teaching small businesses about accessing capital and the pitfalls of doing that and what to watch out for, what to be prepared for. The procurement event was kind of an introduction to federal contracting opportunities and how businesses can grow during the phases of federal contracting. And then we culminated the week, as I stated, with our Small Business Awards. And this year was the first year that we did a gala. And it was really a lot of fun. The small businesses that were the honorees were just so thrilled with the accolades and reception that they received, and it was just heartwarming. So this National Small Business Week is probably the most fun that we have at the agency throughout the year. And so thank you for asking. It's a lot of fun. Can check out all the pictures on social media.
Well, I was definitely following your social media, and you were reposting a lot of things. When you're saying it's the most fun week throughout the year, it sounds both great because you have fun, which you earned.
Sure.
And it's kind of a little tiny period, because a year, it's a lot of weeks and it's only one.
You know, that's a really good point too, Victor, because it's the 1 week that's really dedicated to small businesses, but truly these are businesses that we should be celebrating every day. And they're the lifeblood of the economy. They are the the dry cleaners or the liquor stores or the rehabilitation clinics or the, little boutiques that you go to, or the manufacturers that are driving, jobs in the economy and the exporting opportunities. So it is something that we should celebrate every day. I think we get kind of so caught up in the day-to-day tasks that we have that we don't take time to recognize these folks. But
Right.
at least that 1 week is special to them. But my team and I try to say thank you to small businesses every time we go visit them. So we need to get better at that and do it quite more often. But yeah, it is probably the best week of the year, even though it's so busy, and you need 10 hours of sleep afterwards. But again, it's a lot of fun, and a lot of fun with partnering with other entities. Again, like the small business development centers and the women's business centers and SCORE and Sacramento Startup and the city and county of Sacramento and the city of Elk Grove and the city of Roseville and just, everybody that's kind of in our nexus right around the office here. We tend to work with them throughout the year, but don't get to celebrate. And this is just an opportunity to kind of do that.
How many events did you have during these 5 days?
During the 5 days, we did 11 events. So
it's
yeah.
more than 2 per day.
Yes.
How did you manage?
I have a wonderful staff, and I'm very blessed in that regard. And then, of course, the partnerships that are created too, not only with our resource partner network, but with other ecosystem partners in the community that focus on small businesses. So it's not a heavy lift for one particular person. It's kind of a collaboration, and it makes it easier to pull off all of this magic during the week.
What I'm thinking, obviously, it's a lot of work, and it's well deserved, well earned by both the agency, yourself, the businesses. But why wouldn't the whole team, right, extend this period and have 11 days and 11 events so you could, properly enjoy and take the most out of each event, being an agency or a business?
That's actually a great question. And I will tell you, May is very, very busy. First of all, May is the first full week in May is set aside as National Small Business Week, as I stated.
Yeah.
But May is also World Trade Month. And with the state of California, it's Small Business Month. So there are events going on every day, no matter what you're looking for, whether it's, again, training or networking or, tomorrow night I have a veterans event that I'm going to. And it's just the collaboration and camaraderie that is kind of culminated during the month of May. You get too far into the summer and people are on vacation and kids are out of school, and it's difficult to get that many people to plan things and to collaborate on events. But May seems to be a great month for it, and we always have beautiful weather. We were blessed with very hot weather, but thank goodness it didn't rain.
That's very true. And also, it was a sort of celebration of the end of the tax season.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Exactly.
That is always quite exhausting for businesses. And, when you're scrapping the last pennies to pay it off, and then May is just, okay, let's have a little week off. Well, not off exactly, because you were pretty swamped with everything, I'm sure. A few more questions about these events.
Sure.
You've mentioned that the businesses were sharing about their hardships or their stories. Which stories or which hardships that they would mention connected with you or the most, or were the most memorable?
again, a lot of really great stories. I will say one business in particular, and I don't want to call him out, but I will just tell you that the first venture that he started, he worked very, very hard for a couple of years, and the business ended up failing. And he thought, I'm never going to do that again. I'm not going to go down that road. I'll go to work for somebody else. And it just was like a fire within him. He felt compelled to get back into that industry. And now he's expanded and has 8 locations. So I think it's the stories of perseverance and that feeling of defeat when something doesn't work out. I always recall like the stories about Walt Disney and him failing over 100 times, and then look at the empire that was created. So I think things like that really resonate with me. Also, the stories of folks that work in kind of the childcare system or the healthcare system, and just the despair that they feel when something happens, when perhaps they lose a patient, or it's awful. But then listening to kind of the turn of events, and they get to help bring a life into the world. It's just heartwarming. And I think each of us has a calling, and I think sometimes I'm still trying to figure out mine. But listening to these businesses, it's energizing. It gets emotional. It's at our awards, just the reception speeches from the honorees. I was teary-eyed. I needed tissue for all 8 of them, and it's just a lot of fun, and really makes everything that we do, and all of the hard work that we do on a daily basis, and all of the paperwork, and all of the nonsense that we have to deal with, really, it's worth it. It is. It makes it all worth it at the end of the day.
Right. You mentioned some stories which are very touching. Sometimes they are good because the business is doing well, but they are also heartbreaking because people pass. And it just reminded me of a story when one of my business partners asked me to come and help with a meeting that he was having with his potential clients. He didn't tell me what's going on, what's the company, so I had no clue. But I love these challenging situations. Sure. And we're coming in, we're sitting around the table, and they look very nice, very confident, stylish. And I'm asking them, gentlemen, how could I help you with your business? I didn't know what's happening. And they are telling me that, well, the business is actually doing very well. I don't know, what can you help us with, but we're planning to expand. And I'm asking, what do you do? What's the business about? And they are the agency which deals with people when they pass away. Oh, yeah. Memorial services, ceremonies, the burial, all that kind of stuff. And I'm confused because on one way, congrats that the business is booming. The other way, I'm not sure if it's good. It was kind of a funny, sad situation at the same time.
Sure.
But the next thing which you mentioned during these events, you've had multiple coaches, speakers, motivational speakers. How do you choose those people?
Another really good question. So reputational risk is a real thing. So you have to make sure that you're finding the right speaker that's going to give the right message within kind of I'm hesitant to say kind of guardrails that we put up, but it is true. Kind of just the collaboration of our different ecosystem partners, having conversations and thinking, oh, I've heard this speaker before and they're fantastic and motivating, and here's kind of the story that they tell, and kind of whittling down to potentially a few candidates, and then having a conversation with those people and figuring out, okay, what kind of message do you want to send to small businesses? What do you think is of value with what you have to say? And then just making the choice from there. Because there's a lot of really cool stories out there. And again, the one that I just spoke of with respect to the business failing and him saying, I'm never going to do this again. And now all of a sudden he's, extremely successful and very happy that he stuck with it. So it's those kind of stories of perseverance that we think would resonate with small businesses that we try to kind of pick out those particular folks.
That's a very interesting topic, and I beg your pardon for sitting on it for a bit longer. As a small business owner myself, I've been in these situations when I was introduced to these speakers, whether they are speaking to the lifetime audience, or they do a lot of online things, influencers and stuff like that. What was a little bit challenging for me to accept is that these people are just speakers. And the first one in person I met when I attended the seminars of the Foundation for Economic Education. They are based off East Coast, but they've held seminars all around the States, and I've been with them since 2013. And I asked the gentleman, what kind of business do you run so that you speak? Because to me, it doesn't connect. If you talk, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them, they just give me a just scammy feeling. For example, Tony Robbins, he's like a celebrity, but I would never want to spend my money on his speeches and his events, because he talks the talk. He's really well outspoken. He's very well trained. He's a media personality, but he didn't really go through all of these business practical hardships. And when we have a business owner like you just mentioned, who was hesitant, but then he rebuilt and he now has multiple locations, that is a real speaker. A real-time influencer versus influencer. Which ones do you and your team are looking at?
We want the real people. I appreciate what you said, Victor. I think, from my perspective at least, I am really drawn to the true life stories. And it's easy for, actors and motivational speakers, if they do that for a living, to just get up there and talk the talk. And yeah, they might have a business behind them, but what kind of hardships have they overcome? And you don't hear that, right? So I like the real businesses that, are hopefully located within the district, that are really compelling stories, and the audience can glean a lot of information out of that, but then they can go and visit this business. And I think that really resonates. And I prefer the motivational speakers, the keynote addresses, to be from folks that have really already walked the walk and, aren't just a talking head or an influencer. Honestly, I don't have time for that stuff.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'll get to the questions, because I would like to not have you feel about me the same way. So what I've done a little bit of research online. I'm not sure if all these pieces of information are correct, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Certainly.
The first question, which I would like to hear your feedback about, is the SBA recently finalized a rule to ease the debt refinancing through the program 504. And how do you foresee this impact for small businesses in Sacramento District in particular, in general? And would it still be helping those who are recovering from the pandemic?
So yes, I will say that now, I'm going to preference this answer by telling you that come June 1st, we have a new SOP, or standard operating procedures, that are going to become effective. And those were just published a couple of weeks ago. Prior to that, the agency did another revision to the SOP at the end of 2023, and a lot of the loan volume throughout 2024 was debt refinancing. And previously in the 504 program, specifically, as you stated, debt refinancing wasn't allowed. So the fact that that could now be incorporated into the loan was very helpful for small businesses. And again, during the pandemic, there was a lot of lending, a lot of grants were out there as well, but there was a lot of lending out of desperation. And the economic injury disaster loan, for example, or the Paycheck Protection Program, those were loans, and the PPP, or Paycheck Protection Program, was a forgivable loan if the applicant used it correctly. In some cases, they didn't use it correctly and they had to get on a repayment plan, which was fine. But a lot of these businesses just, even today, still haven't recouped from the losses prior to the pandemic. So there's been a lot of pivoting for these businesses. And with the agency modifying our guidelines, it really is helping businesses to get in a better place. Now, that said, the new SOP that comes out on June 1st, one thing that I kind of gleaned from that, we're getting back to kind of our standard underwriting for small businesses. There's been some lax policies over the past several years, and we're really kind of getting back to the core requirements of the agency, which I feel are good for the small businesses and good for the taxpayers that actually fund the programs. The one concern that I have is on the refinancing of merchant cash advances or factoring loans. Those will no longer be allowed to be refinanced. And personally, I have some concerns about that, simply because a lot of these businesses get into these loans, Victor, and they don't understand the repercussions. They don't understand that the company that's managing that merchant cash advance is going to pull money out of their account each and every day. So those particular businesses, I can think of a nail salon, for example. They're going to not be able to use their credit card machines because every time they put money in there, that money is going to be swiped. And so they tend to then work on a cash basis, which isn't any good for anybody. But it's the truth. Yeah. But it's things like that. So I'm interested to see how this works out. But I also feel like borrower education is really paramount when it comes to knowing what you're getting into and realizing the repercussions. And I can tell you many borrowers don't get it. They sign loan documents not realizing that their interest rate isn't 12%. They're thinking 12% per year when it's really 12% per month. So it's bad. It could be very, very bad. So you have to go into it with your eyes wide open and make sure that if you don't understand something that's in the lending agreement or loan agreement, the loan documents, call us. We can walk you through it. Call any of our resource partners. Call your CPA, your attorney, somebody. Just don't go it alone.
Wow.
Yeah. Long answer, sorry, but
no. That's great. The more information we can learn and help small businesses, the better, because we don't want them to borrow and fail.
Exactly.
And in my personal experience, calling up a lawyer doesn't always help. So we would rather have you protecting them through our media channels than them going to a lawyer, paying a lawyer, and not getting any help, getting the loan, just losing everything.
Sure.
And then I know that I know a few examples of the lawyers who helped people to fail on purpose because it's a different language, the law, and then they bought the assets out, pennies on the dollar. The next question would be, with the SBA's adjustments on the alternative size standards for the C7A and 504 loan programs, how are these changes influencing local businesses' eligibility to access funding?
Thank you for that. So the SBA has modified its size standards. And when we're looking at size standards, we are the Small Business Administration. Now, keeping in mind that 99.9% of businesses around the country are considered small under our standards. Because of inflation, because of the cost of goods, etc., the agency has raised their size standards. So we went from a tangible net worth of 16 million to a tangible net worth of 20 million. So again, 99.9% of businesses will qualify under those standards, but it has opened it up a little bit more. And currently the agency has a focus on manufacturing and American-made products. So I really see that this is going to assist in that regard.
With regard to this topic, we love supporting American made products, services, and if any of the companies which you are working with and they manufacture, they need publicity, we provide that with no cost for American companies which are providing us with American-made products.
Great to know. Great to know.
Please let them know. We'll be happy to bring the eyeballs and more value to them.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, that's for us, for myself, it's like a little mission.
Excellent.
When I went to the NAB Expo in Las Vegas, every company which were American made, I got them for free.
Camera. Excellent.
Yes. And I told them during the year, it's not like one-time thing. Let us help you with the visibility. We're growing, so it's not like we have five followers or stuff like that, but it's quite a good value, and media are picking up our episodes. You've witnessed that yourself. So if it's American made, we are fully in.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's great to know. And again, the next time we do a manufacturing roundtable and a manufacturing tour, I'll bring you along. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I would love that. I would love that, definitely. My next question, the December 2024 final rule introduced significant changes to recertification requirements for small business contractors. What advice would you offer to local contractors navigating these new regulations?
So again, if the small business is doing business with the local municipalities, with the state, with the federal government, they should be aware of these rules. And essentially it's saying that you, as the business, need to, it's Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. And it's a law that prohibits covered federal contractors and subcontractors from discriminating in employment. And with that, there shouldn't be discrimination anyway, and it is illegal. So it's just reinforcing that. And typically with our firms, we utilize training tools and resources to keep them up to date on the federal regulations. We use the CFR and a FAR, FAR. It's the guidebook for federal regulations, and we want to make them familiar with it. And Oksana on my staff trains businesses, firms in the federal contracting arena, and kind of provides this type of guidance and makes certain that when we're doing our annual reviews on these firms, if they're participating in our programs, that they meet these specific requirements. If they're not meeting these requirements, we then put them on a plan to become, I guess I would just say, in compliance, and give them a specific time frame for that compliance.
Now, one additional question to this one. Discrimination. To me, there is a little fine line between the actual discrimination, when a person, a business owner, a boss would behave not appropriately. But also there is another line when people would misuse some regulations or laws or whatever they can to get what they want if they do not deserve. There is a little fun story in Hollywood when an agent was trying to sell his client's pilot, and the client was of a black community, member of black community, black American gentleman. And the network, by the views, right, the number that they got from the preview, they accepted the pilot, but the actor who was the creator got very low rating. So they would accept the pilot, but without the actor, they would have to recast.
Without the inventor, okay.
Right. So what the agent did, he misused, in my humble opinion, this little regulation, and he called them racist or something like that they would not accept because he's black, which was not the case. How can we, small businesses, protect ourselves from people misusing facts and calling it discrimination when it's not?
Yeah. You know, I think we'd need a lot more time for a longer conversation on that. But you're right. I mean, there are abuses of this, and discrimination is a real thing. And for someone to claim discrimination when in fact they're trying to put themselves in a better light or give themselves a leg up versus what's actually happening is really very unfortunate, and it really speaks to their character. I'm saddened by that. I think, you know, it's, I'm a firm believer, we all bleed red. We all are, you know, human, and that's the way that we should all look at it. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen in our society. And, you know, I don't know, Victor, that's a hard one. There are protections in place, but they have to be real, egregious situations in order for the law to act on them. And, you know, it's not my area of expertise, but I know that, you know, again, talking attorneys, etc., there are attorneys that specialize in this. And again, laws on the books that would protect individuals. And, you know, again, not to get political or anything, but there's so many things right now in the news every day. You know, the men and women's sports, and there's, from my perspective, again, personally speaking, not on behalf of the agency at all, but I think that is discrimination. I think the women worked very, very hard to get in the positions that they are. And to have somebody come in that is physically stronger and more capable is not an even playing field. So, again, a longer conversation, but yeah.
Well, that's another topic which we definitely can allocate another special episode, because to me it also doesn't make any sense. Just common sense, which I've been told that common sense is not that common anymore.
It's so true.
And talking about, you know, businesses and this discrimination thing, I get it that everyone is trying to get their spot under the sun and make some money for their living. Some people do it more honestly, some people are just figuring their ways out, and we have to deal with that. But if we get into a situation where we need a lawyer, when we go into a litigation, it's such a big burden on the company, which quite often they did not deserve. And that would be really great if maybe we together could come up with some solutions and maybe pitch it to our legislature to improve the situation, because even with the topic, in my personal opinion, the topic about the illegal immigrants, on one hand, we get it that people want a better life. And yes, America was built on the immigrants. I do agree with the statement which was made by the VP. He said that even though we were built on immigrants, we cannot have the silliest law system on immigration in 2025. However, also talking to small businesses, to me, powers which are way above all the parties and all the officials who are pulling this through and supporting this immigration, to me, it seems like they support a new form of slavery in 2025. Because it's not about letting people in. It's about, okay, they are in, they are illegal, no laws are protecting them. So these people who are using them, they can do whatever they want. So it's just the modern form of slavery, which they support and they cover up with.
Which could very well be. And again, our country was founded on immigration, and that's the beauty in America. But there is a legal way to do it. And what about all of those that are waiting in line for the legal process? Oksana is a perfect example. She waited to, to get her citizenship. And she's so very proud when she was able to do that. Unfortunately, it was during the pandemic and we couldn't go and celebrate with her, but it was an exciting time. And for people to circumvent that system and essentially cut in line, really, it's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. And, I was born here. I'm very blessed to be a citizen and know I've traveled to other parts of the world that we are the greatest country on earth. And I think that it is very telling that all of these people want to come here, but they have to do it the right way. They have to do it legally through the proper channels. And I think that there's a lot of potential for them in building a life and growing a business here and creating a legacy for their future generations. So I don't know. It's, again, another longer conversation, but I think that we've made some mistakes over the past, and just kind of opening the floodgates and letting anybody into our country really is scary. It's, look at what happened 9/11. We were ill prepared. And we need to be in a position of strength and not weakness, and follow the laws that are on the books. Again, my personal opinion, not the opinion of the agency.
Well, I doubt that the agency would disagree that we're living in the best country in the world.
Yeah.
They I think that,
Yeah.
But it's the truth. I stand by all of your words, and we do need to be strong for small businesses, for big businesses, for everyone, and for each other. What was saddening to me when I was observing people hitting each other being American citizens because of the elections or because of the political views, they're going even more negative than fans of different football teams. And it's not a football game.
Right.
The same thing with the war. Are you pro this or pro that? It's not a football game.
Right.
They're dying, So
yeah, it's real life, and that's really scary. And again, our political environment right now is, you think about the future generations, and how are these kids going to want to participate in democracy when they see all the ugliness out there? I think that we, as humans, should respect somebody else's opinion, and you don't have to fight about it. You could, Victor, you might like blue as your favorite color. I like green. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm still going to respect that you like blue. I don't understand why people, families even, people are ostracized from their Easter celebrations or Christmas or birthday parties because of their political views. And it's just really, really sad.
Indeed. Well, in the case of the colors, I like putting them together.
I love that
White,
too.
blue, or green. Let's put them together. I have both.
Perfect.
My next question. The SBA has proposed significant changes to multiple programs. How might these proposed changes affect small businesses in California, in our region?
Yeah, so Hubzone. As a matter of fact, we're doing a training on Hubzone on May 20th. With our Northern California Apex Accelerator. And so the Hubzone program is a program that's been around for quite a while, and it's a geographic-based program. So in order to participate or get certified as a Hubzone firm, they have to be located within a Hubzone. And the U.S. Census has the maps. There's Hubzone maps on online, but on December 17th, they published the final rule making changes to the regulations with respect to the firm must not only certify at the time that they are getting certified, but continuing to certify that they are eligible. Mm-hmm. Now, a kind of a caveat in the Hubzone program is that 35% of the employees in that firm can live in a Hubzone and still be eligible as a Hubzone, even if the firm isn't geographically in that Hubzone. Mm-hmm. So kind of a nice twist on it, little expansion of the program. But honestly, it's kind of an underutilized program. The federal government sets aside 3% of the federal spend for Hubzone firms, and that's a significant amount of money. If we're, as a federal government, spending, say, $800 billion a year on federal contracting, that 3% is pretty significant. So there's a lot of opportunities in that area. And again, it's whether 35% of the staff members live in that community or the business is located in that community, and they can qualify under that Hubzone.
Well, that's very interesting. We'll definitely have to give it more research. My next question would be, with the SBA's emphasis on increasing economic opportunities for returning citizens, what programs or resources are available in your district to support formerly incarcerated individuals looking for a new life and start a new business? Sure.
So there used to be a prohibition on if a small business owner was on probation or parole. And that was changed in, I think, December of 23 with an update to our standard operating procedures. With that, it allows for formerly incarcerated individuals to participate in the lending programs and contracting programs that SBA provides. With that said, the lending institution that provides the financing still has to do their due diligence and make certain that, you know, the business can continue if that individual perhaps has a relapse and goes back to jail or prison. So it's really incumbent on the lender to have a plan B, somebody else who perhaps is a key manager in that business. And but it does provide opportunities. You know, everybody makes mistakes. And let's hope that these individuals have learned from their mistakes and have tried to, you know, move forward and make a better life for themselves and their family.
SBA's role in disaster recovery. How is your district and your office preparing to support small businesses in the event of natural disasters or economic downturns? Mm-hmm. God forbid, but just in case.
Well, as you know, Victor, during the pandemic, that was, you know, the biggest natural disaster that I think any of us has ever faced. And the agency stepped up with different lending programs and guidelines to support small businesses during that time. What we did is take our economic injury disaster loan that is done through our Office of Disaster assistance and Office of Disaster Resilience and Recovery, now that it's been renamed. But we've taken that program and expanded it. And typically during, a fire or an earthquake or a hurricane, something along those lines, the agency steps in, working hand in hand with our partners at FEMA to provide assistance to not only small businesses, but to homeowners, to renters, to not-for-profit businesses, to get them back up and running as if it were pre-disaster conditions. So we're going to continue to do that. I think we're going to see some improvements in the loan programs there. We've got a new head of our ODR&R office, which is the disaster office. And I think he's got really great aspirations in expanding the program and providing more support for those businesses. Now, here locally, we do trainings and educational events on disaster mitigation. And with small businesses, it's really incumbent upon them to attend these trainings, to learn, what if, and it really should be part of their business plan. If there's a disaster, how are we going to operate? Do you, what if your building is destroyed? Or, there's so many variables there. Kind of how do they reconstitute? How do they reopen? How do they continue to sell their product or their service? So we would invite small businesses to look on our website for when these trainings are. That's sba.gov/Sacramento or /local assistance. And you can get all of the information that you need for the agency and all of our resource partners.
I would assume that your colleagues in Los Angeles area are now assisting those who suffered from the LA fires.
Yes, absolutely. That's been a top focus since the fire started in January, and they're really doing a stellar job. Unfortunately, though, there are some impediments to the assistance. There hasn't been a lot of building permits issued. There has been, just some hiccups and roadblocks. And those homeowners and businesses would love to get the ball moving forward. And we're going to walk hand in hand with them to do so. The agency, though, doesn't issue building permits. We don't issue, the occupancy certificates of occupancy. We don't do any of that. So we really need the city and the county to come together and to continue working with these victims, survivors, I should say, to get them made whole. And we're very, very hopeful for that.
I wish you were in charge of all these permits, because that would have helped everyone so much. Looking ahead, what are the SBA district and yourself, what are your priorities for the coming year, for the rest of this year? And how do you plan to address the evolving needs of small businesses in the community?
So I will tell you some of the priorities that we have. Priorities from the agency standpoint is on manufacturing. And I will say that even though that's kind of the talking point for the agency now as far as manufacturing, we've been doing so for many, many years. And just to give you an idea, manufacturing has been part of the legacy of SBA for many, many years. Think about Apple Computer, Nike, the Jelly Belly factory, all of that is manufacturing. And SBA had a hand in assistance with those businesses. And we're going to continue to support manufacturing firms as well as other firms during, this American-made initiative. With that said, we also have a focus on rural communities and serving rural communities. Now, in my district, that is very difficult in some cases because getting to Modoc County, for example, it's going to take 6 or 7 hours drive time to get there. Unfortunately, we don't have the staff, and we're doing our best to service those areas virtually, online, via telephone. But in many cases, areas like Modoc County, they don't even have broadband. So it's a difficult task, but it's a top priority. We're trying to figure out how to do that with less staff. And you know, the agency is going through a contraction in staff right now. My office has gone through the same. It's happening across the nation. And we really are going to continue to rely on our resource partner network, the small business development centers, our women's business centers, SCORE, and our veterans business outreach centers to assist us in reaching those smallest communities. So for focuses of next year or of 2025 this year, it's manufacturing, rural, and really kind of staying the course and trying to figure out how to pivot and do more with less.
Well, that's the best way to do more with less.
We're trying.
That's the best in the economy. With the same question, but maybe just changing the angle a little bit. We've had a lot of talks in Hollywood about the buying industry in Los Angeles. A lot of difficulties which productions are facing in the satellites of Hollywood, such as New York or Atlanta or other cities in the US and also some of them in Canada. Do you foresee any programs from SBA that could help our Hollywood community to boost the business a little bit?
Yeah, it's difficult. With respect to our resource partner network, I think that there is support there for the Hollywood community, movies, lighting companies, catering companies, all of that. The movies themselves, we cannot participate in. We're prohibited from doing that. But there's other areas that again, the agency and our resource partner network can assist with. Contracting with the movie companies, that would be a great avenue for small businesses. And again, you know very, very well, Victor, they need lighting companies, they need electricians, they need catering companies, they need, water trucks, hair and makeup people, all of that. So we're happy to help those particular businesses, but we can't participate in the actual movie production or filming production of it. Right.
I guess I would specify my question. SBA or maybe SBA partners, could they help these companies with any funding options?
So the companies that I mentioned, or sectors, I should say, that I mentioned, we can assist with lending programs, with training needs, with that type of stuff. But again, as far as grants or anything like that, they're really non-existent.
Non-existent at all, or?
Non-existent through the agency. I know that the City and County of Los Angeles, they have done different grant opportunities throughout the years for production companies, for movies. And I know that even up in Humboldt County, up north, they were doing grant opportunities to bring movie production up to that area. So I would look kind of to the county area, cities and counties that want to have the films produced there. That might be a better option. But the agency itself, we really just don't participate in that. Certainly, if we hear of those things, we're going to pass them along to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Ms. Heather, thank you very much for your precious time. Thank you for having us at your beautiful office. I call it the penthouse. I love it. It's so bright. No wonder that you are full of energy all the time. Only great, bright ideas, and you're helping us all so much. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and can't wait to see you the next time.
Absolutely, Victor. Thank you for having me and for your partnership.